Welcome back, True Seeker. Tuesday, November 20th, 2018. This is Gematria School. Before we get going, I just want to make sure people have been able to connect. Let's see here. All right, our link is up. If you're joining tonight for the first time and you want to enter the chat, if you're watching through this screen, just click this YouTube link here. And you want to make sure that you're using one of two browsers, either Firefox or Google Chrome. This seems to work best with those browsers. But if you click the YouTube link, it should bring you to the live chat. And it looks like we got a number of people in here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being on time. Natalie, everybody gets a wrench here. If you have a wrench, you can share links. So, Natalie, you got a wrench now. You should be able to share. Looks like everybody else here has a wrench. Natalie, since it's your first lesson, I recommend when you get an opportunity to go back. We do this every Tuesday. There was one week where we did it on a Thursday as well. That's because YouTube crashed on Tuesday, so we had a bonus lesson. But I recommend you go back and watch the past week's lessons, starting with the first lesson we did. And something I'm planning on doing is setting up a separate unlisted YouTube channel where it'll just be a channel with the Gematria School lessons. So it's quicker to find and go through each week's lesson. So that's something I need to get done. Another thing I need to get done, which I said would be done already, so I apologize, is getting out the letters and numbers book with the pages numbered. I'm going to try to get that done tomorrow. Apologies. I said it would be done this week. Just not enough hours in a day. So set up a YouTube channel with all the Gematria School lessons so it's easy to access them. You definitely want to watch the first lesson, by far the most important, and it probably always will be. But we're trying to build on what we learned in prior weeks. And so far, some weeks we've been building on each lesson, but we took a little detour and covered the elections and elections by the numbers and practiced using our knowledge. Set up a YouTube channel for all Patreon uploads. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I could have everything there. But then if I do that, then it's maybe I could set up two Patreon channels. One for Gematria School and then one for the other videos I do. So I will do that. I got this extra phone line, so it allows me to make more YouTube channels. So I will get that set up. Thanks for the compliments. This week I didn't do my best work for those football fans, unfortunately, and a few less people are here because of it. Rightfully so. I wish those people had more patience, but I know the way the world is. So anyway, things coming, pages numbered on the letters and numbers book, and also something that I'm going to do eventually is do some edits in there, fix the few errors that are in there, and add in a few things that I've learned since that I wish were in the book. And when that happens, for all of you who are at the $11 tier, I'll just upload those versions to here and you'll be able to download them right away. So you won't have to buy the book or anything or some updated version like this is a college textbook course. You'll just get the brand new version. And for everyone who stays at the $11 tier, when I do get to writing the next book, whatever new written information I put out, you're always going to get to download that for free as an $11 member. So you're going to get all future written content, all Gematria School episodes, plus everything else that goes on here. So the other piece of business is I know that Crystal has been building the website, and I haven't done a good job of getting back to her this week, but I have faith she's doing a good job and she has the direction. So Crystal, I'd like to talk to you tomorrow if you have time. If not, because of the holiday, I understand. But I got to go back and get your email still, and we need to talk very soon. I also set another man in motion to help get this website done because he's very motivated, and he wants to see this this cause that we're all after taken to the next level as well. Sorry, Saradwin. Timing's everything. Oh, Supermot's here. Hey, brother. Haven't seen you for a while. You need a wrench too. I don't know how you didn't have one already. Dolores needs a wrench. Again, when you have a wrench, you can share links in the chat. So, oh, here's another person who needs a wrench. Just want to make sure everybody's got a wrench. I know I gave Natalie one. All right. So last week we covered sacred geometry, and we had a little fun watching the old Disney cartoon to supplement our learning. This week we're going to build on our understanding of the sacred knowledge and the different pieces of the puzzle that help this language of letters and numbers make sense. So let's talk about Hermeticism. And if you haven't read my book yet, there's a chapter on Hermeticism and Alchemy. It's chapter 7. All of you who are here tonight have the ability to download this book. You don't need to buy it again. You don't need to go to Etsy and buy it. If you're at the $11 tier, you just need to scroll down. I believe I posted it last Tuesday. I've posted it multiple times. I believe I posted it last Tuesday, the link to download the book. And as I said, this week we would get more into Hermeticism. We're also going to talk about Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. And I was doing some extra research this week on the Qliphoth, which is the dark side of the Tree of Life, the somewhat evil side. So we're going to talk about that as well. If you're not familiar with Hermeticism, it's credited to Thoth. Thoth, T-H-O-T-H, covered in the first chapter of my book. That's what he was known to by the Egyptians. The Greeks changed his name to Hermes, or Hermes Trismegistus. They are the same person, Thoth, Hermes. Again, Thoth is Egyptian, Hermes is Greek. And the Greeks, a lot of the things they're credited with truly came from the Egyptians, the civilization before them. You learn about the Greek greats, a lot of them studied in Egypt. So Thoth, he's said to be the creator of all knowledge, pretty much, including language, mathematics, letters, numbers. His name in Gematria, in our most pure cipher, sums to 26. If you read the first chapter of my book, it's about why are there 26 letters in the English alphabet. The number is symbolic of God. And Thoth, there's a debate. Some people say he was an actual person, essentially God in the flesh. Some people say that he was just a god. So, not to go down that road, the point is, this knowledge is credited to that person, that thing, that God. Hermeticism and alchemy, they're directly related. And we'll talk about this through the 7 Hermetic Principles. If you've ever read Revelation, the final book of the Bible, the 7 seals are speaking to the 7 Hermetic Principles. And it's not an accident that it's chapters 5 through 8 of Revelation that talk about the 7 seals. In Gematria, 7 seals sums to 58, as does the Kabbalion, the Hermetic text that talks about the 7 Hermetic Principles. The Greek name, and remember the Greeks wrote the New Testament of the Bible, including Revelation. The name Hermes Trismegistus, the Greek name for Thoth, also has the Gematria of 85, or 58 in reverse. And again, chapters 5 through 8 speak of these 7 seals, which are in tribute to these 7 Hermetic Principles. If you have not read this chapter of my book, this can be your homework tonight when you finish, as well as chapter 8, which gets into the Tree of Life. But the 7 Hermetic Principles, again, are these on the screen. And let me zoom this in here. The first is mentalism. All is mind. And I imagine everyone who's listening has had, those experiences that we call ESP. Something happens. You wake up in the middle of the night. You have this feeling, and then you find out something happened to someone who's close to you that you love, a family member. Or, perhaps you always get this feeling or a thought about somebody, and then a moment later your phone's ringing and it's them. And you have this type of pattern happen routinely. This is part of the all is mind thing. It's not the only aspect, though. There's the phrase, you are what you eat. You eat well, you're healthy. You eat poorly, you're not healthy. Same with the mind. You think positive thoughts, more positive experiences will come into your world. You think negatively, more negative experiences will come into your world. And there's so many people in this world who don't grasp that, and they suffer from not grasping it. For example, my own mother, she would say, oh, that's a bunch of hooey, this whole mentalism business. That's just a bunch of, jibbity jabbity nonsense. And it's too bad that my mom thinks that way, because my mother, there's a lot of people in this world, but I've never met anyone who's more negative than my mother. And a lot of bad stuff just comes into her life. I can't tell you how often she runs over a jagged piece of debris and has a tire flattened. I mean, I've only had that happen once in my life. It happens to my mom multiple times every year. And she's always she's always calling up and saying, like, Zach, watch out for stuff on the road. I get flat tires all the time. And I'm saying, yeah, I know to watch for that. But I think, Mom, sometimes because you think about this stuff so much, it just happens to you. And she goes, oh, no, oh, no. But my mom, she's just always, her mind is just fixated on the bad things that will come into her life. And they just come and they come and they come. And I always just say, Mom, if you didn't, think about the negative so much and you focused on positive things, I think and she will never accept that. She just wants to stay on this path of thinking negative, worrying about the worst, planning for this disaster, and the disasters they just pile up for. And it's like a tragedy to watch. And what's interesting is my dad, his mother's the exact same way. And she would also say the same thing about this whole mentalism thing. And I think if both of those women would just reverse their train of thought and focus on the positive and bringing happiness into their lives and things that please them, I think both of them would suffer a lot less, because my mother and my grandmother are two people that are they're constantly suffering. So I got to learn through them, even before I knew about this Hermeticism thing, how the world operates this way. And, I'm someone who always, says, no matter how bad something gets, like my girlfriend, she's seen it a million times. I'll just say, just stay positive. It's okay. We're going to make it through it. Something good's going to come out of this. And it does. And I remember one of the most memorable nights with my girlfriend was used to have a medical marijuana delivery business, right? And there was a night where we had snow and ice, and I didn't have the right vehicle for it, but I had this really good customer. I'd been telling everybody that I couldn't come, and understanding this was medical marijuana, so people are in pain. I'm delivering them the thing that's helping them, and this was a legitimate, above board business. I had this one customer who was a really good customer. They were about a 20-mile drive from where I needed to be, and I knew that where their house was near the end, it was kind of hilly, so my car wouldn't be able to make it. But I thought if I could drive close enough, I could just walk up the hill to the final part and, make the delivery and then go back to the vehicle. So my girlfriend wanted to come with me. First, she didn't want me to do it, but I said, look, I'm going to do it for this customer just because they need this. And yeah, it's risky, but I think I'll make it. And she really wanted to come with. And I said, well, I'm not sure that's a good idea. What if something does go wrong? Then we're both going to be out there. She's like, no, I want to come with. I said, okay. I said, just bring some warm clothes in case something happens. And so sure enough, I was able to get there. And when I got to the big hill, I stopped at the bottom. And I noticed when I got to the big hill, there was a Mercedes up at the top. And this is actually a pretty nicer area that I drove to. So a lot of Mercedes and nicer cars in the area. This Mercedes was spinning its wheels at the top. Couldn't quite get over the hill, rear wheel drive car. So I stopped at the bottom and I went up and I helped this Mercedes. I went up to their window. I said, look, I'll push you in the back. It'll probably be enough to get you over this last little part. So I did. And I pushed them up the hill and they went and they made up the hill. And the problem was they were kicking up all this snow and ice. So I got it on my pants, which wasn't a big deal while it was frozen. But while I was doing that, another car came up the hill and had the same problem, got stuck at the same spot. So I pushed them, got more snow kicked up on my pants. And so anyway, I helped these cars. I ended up going the rest of the way to the house, which wasn't too far. I made the delivery. And when we came back to my car, it wouldn't start. It was just completely dead. And it was weird because there hadn't been any sign that the battery was near dying. And when I tried to start the car, it's not like it was doing the and not starting. It's just like it was completely dead. And I thought, what in the world? So I have AAA. So I call AAA up and they say, oh, sorry. It's about 9 o'clock at night when this happened, by the way. They say, sorry, we're not going to evaluate operating again until I think they said 5 in the morning. And I said, really? I said, you guys aren't going to try to operate again until 5 in the morning. I said, that's 8 hours from now. And I'm stranded out here. And they said, well, sorry, the roads are too bad. And I was thinking, come on, the road, we do have some snow and ice, but if these big trucks with the chains, they can get around. I was getting around in a little Honda Civic at the time. So anyway, my girlfriend was so upset and she was saying, see, you shouldn't have done this. And then I was in the car and it was cold and, I had all this snow on my pants, which started to melt. So then my jeans were wet. And I was saying, well, look, we tried to help somebody else out. We just helped some other people get up the hill. Something positive is going to come. We're going to be okay. We're going to survive. I was worried that we might have to sit there until 5 in the morning and I was going to be an icicle. But it was probably about 2 hours that we were in the car waiting for people. And while I was there, what I did to keep warm is people kept coming and getting stuck on the hill. So I'd run out and I'd help people push up the hill. And along the way, that this one couple came and they had hot tea and coffee in the back of their car and they gave us some of that. So that was nice. And anyway, what ended up happening that was amazing, I still remember the guy's name. His name was Ken. Ken comes driving by in his tow truck. And he stops and he says, hey, man, are you stranded? And I said, yeah, my car just stopped working. I can't even get it to start. And he's like, huh, that's interesting. And he goes, well, which way are you going? And I told him I had to go back up north. And he said, well, he goes, I can head that way for you. I said, really? I said, you can take me all the way back up there? He says, about 20 miles. He's like, no problem. So this guy hooks up the tow truck. And it's expensive to get towed and stuff. This guy just wanted to help me out. He didn't want to charge anything. I gave him some money anyway. He didn't want it, but I gave it to him because I insisted. But, Ken just came out of nowhere in his tow truck. And so we didn't have to end up waiting until 5 in the morning. We probably had to wait till about 11 at night. But, it just seemed like a nice thing to me. And life's a strange thing, you do positive things for people and then something weird or bad happens to you, like the car not starting at all out of nowhere, which I still can't explain why it was. He gave me a jump when he towed me all the way back to my house. And the snow had been piling up, so he just decided he was going to drive me. He saw that I was in a Civic. But, I thought that was an example of mentalism. I was just saying, look, it's going to be okay. We did something positive. Something positive is going to come back for us. Some people showed up with some hot tea. Some other people or another man, Ken, came with the tow truck and towed us all the way back to our house, which was awesome, and didn't want anything for it. And, you know, I just have a feeling that that would have never happened for my mother. You know, she would have turned it even to more of a nightmare. So I absolutely know that this thing about mentalism and all is mind and, you know, keeping a positive state of mind, even in the worst scenarios, it has great power. So the next thing is, I think we're clear on mentalism. What you project in your mind is what comes into your life. Actually, just real quick, I want to tell you another story from my own life, and hey, you guys have the number to call in too. If anybody wants to call in to share a story like this, you're more than welcome to. You're more than welcome to, because that's the one thing about this. It's not quite like a classroom. People could raise their hand and I could call on you and say, yeah, please do share your story. But you do have the phone line if you want to call in and share your story as we go through tonight's lesson. If there's just anything that resonates with you or an example you want to share. But I do have another story. It's from before I was with my girlfriend. I was with my buddy, and I'd probably been out of my last relationship for about 6 months, and I said, I think the next woman I'm going to end up with, I think she's going to be a Hispanic woman. I have a thing for Hispanic ladies. I like all women in the world, but I don't know. I find myself extra attracted to Hispanic Latin women. Anyway, I just said, I have a feeling that my next relationship, it's going to be a Hispanic woman. She's already going to have some children. And I just envisioned that for myself. And my buddy's like, why do you see that? I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to have kids, but I don't want my own kids. I just want kids that are already in the world that need like a good father figure. And I said, I just like Hispanic women and Hispanic cooking, Latin food. And I swear, it wasn't even a week later. Actually, my buddy Token Tim, it was him who introduced me to this woman. We needed to get what had happened in this woman's life is she'd recently had a tragedy in her own life, and her husband committed suicide. And I don't know the full story of this, but she was selling some stuff from his business, which was the same business I was in. And so we were going to buy this equipment. The woman really wanted the money because she was in a pinch because of this suicide. And just, so I thought, okay, we can help her out and get what we need. And so anyway, when we went to meet her, she's this beautiful Hispanic woman. She had these 2 little kids. They were 4 years old and 5 years old, a boy and a girl. And we were talking to her for a while, and she made us some food, and the little boy asked if I'd play catch with him. So I started playing catch with him, and then the little girl wanted to play too, and I was having some fun with her kids. And just there was this nice chemistry. And anyway, this woman had other things to sell, so I ended up interacting with her and her children a few more times, and I could tell that there was, it seemed like there was a mutual attraction, and at the same time, it seemed a little bit too close. She'd recently just had this suicide, so I never pursued it, but I think it kind of weirded me out too, how it just all happened so fast. I never pursued it, so nothing happened, and it kind of just like, again, it kind of spooked me because I was like, wow, I just said this, and then this happened, and anyway, it's like one of those, probably could have been something, but I'll just never forget it. Out of the blue, I said that to my buddy, and then wasn't even a week later, it seemingly became almost a reality, or the possibility was introduced. So anyway, mentalism, all is mind. It makes 1,000,000% sense to me. And I'm sure with a lot of you, it resonates too. So correspondence, the next one. As above, so below. As below, so above. What this principle is about is connecting the spiritual and the physical world. And something that a lot of us have common understanding of is astrology. and astrological charts, and how our date of birth corresponds with a set of characteristics based on what's taking place above and what's known as the heavens or space. And we've talked about astrology before. Astrology was another thing that I once thought was a bunch of hooey, horoscopes and yada yada. And again, it was a woman named Rennie who really wanted me to research this subject, and she wanted me to research it so much she went out of her way and printed out all this material about my date of birth. And because she made the effort, I took the time to read it, and I realized what she had shown me through this was beyond coincidence. It talked about how a person with my set of birth traits, date of birth, the moon, it caused one to be more oriented towards truth, more willing to speak out, more interested in political justice type matters. And I just knew that those things were true of me. And I mean, everybody who knew me knew that was true of me. And the reason this woman wanted to show me is because she knew so much about this and had studied so many different dates and personality types. She just saw right away that I was going to resonate with this once she showed it to me. And that's part of the as above, so below thing. The spiritual world, what's above, right here on earth where we are. There's another piece to correspondence. We'll save it for another time. We'll save the other piece of correspondence above. But again, the main part is that this world is connected to the spiritual world, and together it is the whole. The third piece is vibration. Actually, before we go on to the third piece, the other thing about correspondence is, again, within Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, which we're going to get to, something to understand tonight is, one half of the Tree of Life is about spiritual ascension. The other half, known as the Qliphoth, is about the darker side, rather than about the spiritual ascension, more about the demonic and, associated with witchcraft. But from what I've learned about the Qliphoth is there's also a reason to study it just to understand the darker side of human nature. So again, all things are knowledge, but that's also part of the as above, so below, heaven, hell, this type of duality. Vibration, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. And think about this world. Can you think of anything that is permanently still? Is there anything in the world that never moves? I can't think of anything. I can't think of a single thing. The earth beneath us, it seems still, but over time it's slowly moving. What's below is being pushed to the surface. So everything carries a vibration in this world. And again, this is the aspect of Hermeticism that's important to this study of numbers. This is where numerology comes from. Every number has a vibration, and the vibrations of those numbers, as subtle as they seem, they have real world impact in our lives. And it's why those of us who take the time to decode our birth numerology and our names, we find these overwhelming connections to the people in our lives. I've said it several times before, just real quick. And again, I'm just using myself as examples. Every story I'm telling tonight about myself, the reason I'm telling it is because I know that you have a story just like mine. And through my stories, I want you to think about your own experience. That is the part of this Hermetic and Kabbalah knowledge to take away. It's about understanding ourselves and this place in this world and the way the world operates around us. Knowledge of the ancients that's been forgotten to most people today. So again, there was a time when I thought numerology sounded silly and a bunch of hocus pocus. And I remember reading in the book that if you take the time to decode your birth numerology and your name, again, using that cipher, the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. If you're on gematrinator.com, it's that dark blue cipher, the second from the left. Alphabetic order numerology, that's the most pure cipher. If you decode your birth numerology in your name, you'll find that your numbers align with the people in your own life. And again, to put it to the test, I thought, what would be more meaningful than decoding my mother and father's name and our birth numerology and seeing how the numbers line up? And I decoded my father's full name. I decoded my full name. We had the exact same number, which was 89. And then I noticed my mother's birthday. It's September 8th, a date that can be written 8/9. I thought, how interesting. And the only artifact that my dad saved from my date of birth was that the day I was born, we still have the paper clipping in my baby book. The paper clippings from the day after I was born, but it's because it was the day after that it was in the newspaper. But the clipping is about how the day I was born was the coldest recorded temperature in the history of recordings on Earth. And the temperature was -89 Celsius. Now, my dad didn't have a clue about Hermeticism or numerology or, naming people by the numbers. So all of this was organic, our names being the exact same, corresponding with my mother's date of birth. My mother's name in the same cipher, her full name sums to 62, which isn't the same as 89, but what 62 and 89 have in common is they both break down to 8 in numerology. So they have a relationship with the same number. 6 plus 2 for 62 is 8. 89 is 8 plus 9 is 17. 1 plus 7 is 8. So we're all 8s. And also, my mother has another child. My sister, she doesn't have the same father. But what's interesting about my sister's date of birth is it's December 7th. And we'd write that date 12/7 here in the US commonly. My date of birth is July 21st, 7/21, dates that are perfect reflections of each other. And, I just started thinking about that back then too. And I thought, wow, how interesting. So, and if you read my book, there's even more to that riddle. But when I saw that and shared that story, what was cool doing this work is a lot of people, they started to share their own story. And they said, oh, wow, I just decoded myself and my children, or myself and my loved one, or myself and my parents. And a lot of people saw that they have the same type of relationships. And that's that subtle quality of vibration, that everything has a vibration, it has an influence on our behavior. I used to always ask my parents why they named me what they named me, because there's no Zacharys, there's no Keefs, and they just said they liked the way it sounded. So somebody's calling in right now. I'm going to see if it's hello, caller. Are you in class right now?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. But I have a question real quick.
Well, I got to call you back later then. I got to call you back later. Sorry.
All right, man.
All right. Thought maybe he was in class and wanted to share something. So everything in this world carries a vibration. It has an influence on our behavior. And think about colors, Very simple to understand, something we all learn from a young age, red provokes a bull. Colors, letters, numbers, shapes, they all have influence on us. So next principle, polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. So, to make sense of that, think about, let's just think about things. Temperature, hot and cold. They're the same thing. They're temperature, but we think of them as opposites on the scale. And they come to a meeting point at cool or lukewarm. So everything is dual. You know, time. What are opposites in time? Day and night, but they're still time. People, man and woman, but we're still people. The one most interesting part of that concept to me is that all truths are but half truths. And if you think about it, you can make sense of it. You know, even if something is the truth, to some people it's not. You know, and for some people, a lie is the truth. You know, some people believe in a lie, the word that has lie right in the middle, believe. Young and old, part of the same thing. So polarity, I think it's understood. Rhythm, the fifth principle. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The point of this principle of Hermeticism is to, you know, observe the world you live in and the natural ebbs and flows. You know, for example, it's not coincidental that so much baby making happens in a certain time of the year, and the majority of babies are born in the springtime. You know, that's the time of the year when more love is happening than any other. And this time of the year we're in right now, it's a time of year when a lot of people are experiencing depression. It's colder, it's darker. We don't have the natural beauty around us that's the spring. We see, you know, the depleted trees with no leaves. So there's all these different times and flows in the year that have this influence on our behavior and our state of mind. And, you know, if you're trying to achieve things in this world, if you're trying to find love, for example, you got to realize, when's the better time to pursue love? Because there probably is a better time statistically, you know? There's a worse time statistically. And there's more than just pursuing love, right? We're trying to wake people up to truth. That's a rhythm I'm still trying to figure out. What's the best way to go about it? When's the best time to pursue it? Is it when people are of a certain age? These are the questions I'm trying to understand right now. So realize Hermeticism is about understanding important concepts and realities of our world, and then putting your mind to it and observing and paying attention and building your own understanding so that you can improve your position in this world or achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Lately, I've been thinking that perhaps the best population to try to share this work with are people who are in the college age, you know, going to universities and speaking, because there you have a population. What rhythm and flow are they in? They're trying to learn right now. Their minds are still open. They're not as sealed off as, you know, maybe people who are a bit older. But then again, these rules, they're not true of all people. There's exceptions, but it's about understanding the greater patterns. You know, when do you want to go surfing, for example? You know, you understand the point I'm making by saying that, right? It has everything to do with the tide. Maybe also there's another time you want to consider not to go surfing. Maybe there's a time when hungry sharks are feeding more. You know what I mean? So understanding realities of our world can help us achieve our goals. Cause and effect in Hermeticism. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. The point of understanding this principle is to realize, who are you in terms of the relationship between cause and effect? Are you the person that's creating the element that has influence on other people? Or are you the person being moved by the influence of others? For example, something that I harp on a lot about is how the people of this world, they are overwhelmingly followers of an agenda that goes against themselves. And they're not considering how they're cogs in a machine and how they're being used against their own interest by participating in certain types of ideas. For example, we truth seekers are often referred to by our fellow family members, friends, citizens as conspiracy theorists. And what those people who do that, they don't realize that they are the result, or their beliefs and their opinions and attitudes and the things they state, they don't realize that that is the result of the programming of others. They're being affected by somebody else's cause. There's a group of people out there who don't want the masses to think about how they're being used. They don't want them to think for themselves. They don't want people to question. They want people to follow and believe and submit to authority. These people understand Hermeticism. They understand how to be the cause and have other people feel the effect of their cause. So by having that awareness, it's what can help you change your position. Now you're not the pawn on the chessboard anymore. Now you've elevated your position, So that is the reason for understanding cause and effect, to realize where your place is in that relationship. And there's also, of course, there's more to this as well. I mean, also understanding how your behavior influences others. You want to improve your relationship with somebody, your cause, what's it doing for the other person? What effect is it having on them? You want somebody to like you more. You want to fight less with somebody. You want to be in greater peace. You have conflict with your family, your sibling, your coworkers. This is the other piece of this, So understanding how your behavior is affecting others. The seventh principle is gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles, which means that everything is part masculine and feminine. And I think we all understand that. We have the phrase in society, boys don't cry. We associate crying with the feminine, but as we know, boys do cry, so do men. And we could say that crying is more of a feminine quality, but it still exists in all of us. And, some people would probably say that caring for others is more of a feminine quality. Women throughout history are more caretakers, taking care of the children, taking care of the family. But that doesn't mean men can't care. It's just associated more with a feminine quality. So all things are masculine and feminine. And with that in mind, it's a good transition point to the tree of life, because the 10 different Sefirot of the tree of life are associated with male and feminine qualities. And the very top of the tree of life, that top Sefirot, which is associated with God, is considered to be male and feminine. And of course, in the tree of life, we people are the creation of God in God's image. And we people, we have two genders, male and female, both representing different aspects of God. So, again, please, tonight, if you haven't read chapter 7 already, do read this chapter, because it ties in the Gematria knowledge with some of the concepts we went over, and adds further meaning to the numbers that we discuss so often. So, chapter 7 does begin on page 93. And there's a little humor in this chapter, if you haven't read it, showing how the story of Lorena Bobbitt is actually in tribute to this knowledge. So, some things in this chapter you wouldn't expect to read, but they are here. And just scanning over the page in case you're looking at the screen, just some of the numbers that should pop out. Oh, yes. And I'm glad that this did come across my eyes before we move on to the tree of life in Kabbalah. There are considered 32 spiritual paths in the tree of life. They are the 10 Sefirot and the 22 paths connecting the 10 Sefirot. So 32 paths of spirituality is how it's considered. And this word transmute has this gematria of 32. Alchemy, which is related to Hermeticism, is about improving your state of consciousness, moving from the place you're in to a more positive and powerful and in tune place with the world you live in. That's what the word transmute is, and we're thinking of it in a positive sense. The tree of life Kabbalah is part of this exact same concept. It's about improving your understanding of the world and your spiritual relationship with the world around you and the Creator. So, transmute is this word that comes from alchemy and Hermeticism, and it's directly related with the tree of life. Understand, all of this knowledge, they're pieces of one larger puzzle. These are the ancient mystery religions: Kabbalah, Hermeticism, alchemy, Kundalini. Also, in Hermeticism and Alchemy, these 7 principles, they're associated with these 7 classical planets, which are what the 7 days of the week are named after. So, again, you can read all this tonight in the chapter, and you're doing your additional homework. Let's see. Trying to scroll down here to the next chapter that we're moving on to. So now we're going to talk about the tree of life and the 10 Sefirot, which they represent. There's also an 11th hidden Sefirot known as Da'at. It would be right here where I'm circling on the screen. It's important to the Qliphoth, the Qliphoth. I always have trouble pronouncing that word. Qliphoth. It's the 11th and the hidden aspect of the tree of life. After we cover the typical tree of life, I want to talk about what we witnessed this week in the NFL in week 11 with the destruction of the leg of number 11 and the numerical ritual of that. just to give us something to think about the true power of this code and what may be possible in this world. So let me see here. I have I wanted to pull up this diagram, which has that 11th Sefirot. And I wanted to pull up these notes here. So understand the Sefirot are numbered. This one is number 1 at the top. This is considered what is unattainable. This is considered God here. Man cannot achieve this. Keter, it's number 1. And it moves in this path. It moves down here to Chakma, which is number 2. Then it moves across to Baina, which is number 3. And we shouldn't be seeing Da'at here. It's the unknown Sefirot that you're not supposed to speak of, but it is really here. So we'll skip that one for right now. If you're just doing the Tree of Life, it would go 1, 2, 3 to Baina, and then 4 to Chesed, and then 5 to Gavura. And I'm really terrible with my pronunciations. Don't learn the pronunciations from me. I'm the worst at pronouncing words, but pronouncing. But we will go over what these Sefirot mean and what they represent. So then it would come over here, and then it would move down to Tiferot, and then to Netzach, then over to Had, then to Yesod, and then to Malchut. And what you need to know about this Sefirot, this represents the physical world at the bottom. This next Sefirot is the transition from the physical to the spiritual. And as you build, you move closer to God. And what this is supposed to symbolize is the knowledge and aspects of our human qualities that we have to master to attain to understand God's will and to become spiritually enlightened in this world. This is the belief using the Tree of Life. And when I first began to study the Tree of Life, what I learned that just stood out right away that made so much sense to me is this realm right here, which connects the physical with the spiritual. It represents our sexual organs. You know, if you can imagine that this is our head and this is our body, this is where our genitals would be. And the belief in Kabbalah is that you have to overcome, not overcome sex, but you can understand this in a way, priesthood and, you know, the aspects of religion that completely refrain from sex to attain spiritual enlightenment. This is where the belief comes. But Kabbalah doesn't say that you have to completely avoid sex. But what it does say is you cannot become so fixated on sex. It can't become your obsession. It can't become your world. And just think about the world we live in and how many people are, you know, their entire life and center really does come back to sex. You know, it's what's on their mind. It's what they're fixated on. I think at the age we're living in, it's become, you know, an epidemic with pornography and it being everywhere. And, but Kabbalah says you cannot get fixated on sex or you will not be able to spiritually ascend. And, you know, just from my own personal life, you know, when I was a young 18-year-old, you know, a young teenager, I would say in my, you know, from the time of 15 to 18, you know, I would say that probably in that period of my life, I was fixated on sex, probably just like a lot of people my age. And when September 11th happened, you know, a light bulb went off in my head and I just realized there was something greater in this world. It was truth. It was justice. And my priority really changed. I mean, for my first month of college and being on my own, it was going after every girl I could, just to be perfectly honest. And then it just wasn't that when 9/11 happened. I was just like, there's something more important. What happened in my life is I just felt so wrong about that day, and that I was obviously being lied to, and then I was upset that the people around me didn't care, and they were getting mad at me for questioning, and it just changed everything for me. So I just wonder what kind of person I would have become if September 11th didn't happen in a way. And so anyway, this makes sense to me just from my own personal experience. My life became about research and knowledge and, figuring out what I had to do to help bring justice into this world, and realize those qualities already were there with me. But just in that phase of my teenage years, you know, sex went to the forefront. So anyway, I just think about this world we live in, and I think about how much sex is promoted: television, movies, magazines, everything. I mean, sex is what's screaming out from everywhere in popular culture, right? It is the omnipresent distraction. And then I think about how the world, the elite, the people who control Hollywood and media and entertainment, they're obviously knowledgeable about this code. And it seems very clear they're trying to keep us in a state of non-enlightenment and in the dark and eternally distracted. So it just makes so much sense. It just makes so much sense. And real quick, I just want to show you guys something. I'm going to pull up the Gematria calculator. I always thought it was so interesting when I first began researching, when I just knew the alphabetic order and the rules, and the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. But I just noticed right away things like this. I noticed that sex was 48. I noticed that evil was 48. I noticed that tree was 48. And I thought, why does tree have the numbers like that? I also noticed that using the alphabetic order and the rules of numerology, that Hollywood was 48, Illuminati was 48. I said, what's going on with that? Well, studying about this Qliphoth thing, the darker side of the tree of life, I learned that Da'at, the 11th thing, which is, like the most important side to the dark side, it is symbolic of sex. And again, that side is about, part of what that side's about is hurting other people. And I just think about how sex can be used as a weapon. Using our septenary and Chaldean ciphers, these are outside of our base ciphers, but again, there's a lot of important things in here. It's really interesting that in those ciphers, tree of life is 48, just like how tree is 48 using the alphabetic order and rules of numerology. And again, Kabbalah is not about evil, but there's an evil half to it. And again, just think about our English language and how we use the word spell. It has this concept of, and again, if you study witchcraft, it's not all evil either. There's spells traditional witchcraft is about, making sure that you have a healthy harvest, that your plants grow, that you know how to bring health into ill people. So spell casting isn't all evil either, but in our common culture, we learn that witchcraft's evil and spells and magic are evil. So there's this focus and there's this understanding in our culture. And we use the word spell in regards to magic as well as crafting words. So anyway, coming back to the tree of life, it is sex and an obsession with it, an unhealthy, relationship with sex that will prevent you from moving into the spiritual. You will be stuck in the physical world. That comes together at Yesod. So again, Malchut's the physical world. And realize that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just that this is our understanding, moving from the physical to the spiritual and climbing the ladder. So these are qualities related to Malchut. leading, communicating, achieving. And there's more, but those are things you want to do in the physical world, you know. Again, this realm is the connection between Yesod, the next one up, is the connection between the physical and the spiritual. Hod, which is starting to enter this spiritual world, this is where you have qualities like being appreciative and devoted and accommodating to others. The ability to be part of a cause that's bigger than yourself, you know, taking one for the team. Learning happens here. This next quality, and again, this is the path of climbing. You go here to here, if you're watching me on the screen, to Hod, to Netzach. So this quality, this Sefirot represents, you know, persistence, the willingness to take risk, to achieve, the ability to overcome challenges when faced with obstacles. These are things that are encompassed in this realm. Tiferot. Okay, I want to pause here for a moment. I want to pause before we move on. Okay, here's something I should have done before we started moving up here. Again, we were talking about how in Hermeticism, there's this concept of gender. Everything is male and female. And do you see how I've made this diagram here? This one represents Keter, the top, the crown, the Godhead, what man is not supposed to be able to achieve. 2 is Chokmah, 3 is Binah, 4 is Chesed, 5 is Gevurah, 6 is Tiferet, 7 is Netzach. You see this? Where I put the M, that means male. Where I put the F, it means female. And these Sefirot are associated with these qualities. So the top is male and female. This pillar, the left pillar, so we have 3 pillars here, right? The left side, the 3 Sefirot, that's considered the left pillar. That's the pillar of severity. Overwhelmingly, it's masculine, but not every quality here is masculine. The top quality is feminine. The right pillar is the pillar of mercy, and it's associated with the feminine, but again, not every Sefirot is feminine. The top is considered masculine. You see? You see how this works? Overall, this pillar right here is feminine, but the top quality is masculine. On the opposite side, it's the masculine pillar, but the top quality is feminine. The third pillar, which runs down the middle, is the pillar of balance, where the 2 opposing sides come together. And the physical world is considered feminine. The world where the physical and spiritual merge is considered masculine. This Sefirot that we just got to, Tiferet, is considered to have male and feminine qualities. So, again, the tree of life encompasses that 7th Hermetic principle of gender and how all things are male and female. Okay, so coming back, Tiferet, it represents the beauty in life, and it symbolizes the balance, and of course it's on the pillar of balance. As I talk about the beauty, my sweet love has just walked into the room and dropped the pens all over me, which is the duality of this world, right? So anyway, let me pick this up real quick. So the Tiferet, again, it is number 6 in terms of the numbers of the Sefirot. It also symbolizes the coming together of the realms we've talked about so far, as well as the next two. And it symbolizes having empathy, but restraint, caring for others, but keeping it in check. You know, you've probably found yourself before in that place where there's somebody who needs something from you and they need a lot. And you find that you're giving your all to them and you become out of balance yourself because now your whole life is about helping this other person. You want to help them, but you've gone too far and now it's causing, you know, strife or grief in your own life. So this Sefirot symbolizes having, you know, that empathy, but also the restraint to realize where that line is, you know, where you need to cut that person free and say, look, I gave you what I have to give. From here, you know, you need to take what I've given you and complete the other half of this equation. It can't be all me. So I'm sure a lot of you have been there before. That's something that I would say as a person, I still need to figure out. There's, and I'd say it's something I've gotten better about as I've gotten older, but sometimes I find myself in those situations where just doing more than I can for another person or a group of people. And that story I told earlier, you know, I really wanted to help that person, but maybe I should have said, you know, it's really not safe tonight. The roads are bad. It's too dangerous. Please, can you just wait until the morning and hopefully things are better? And had we done that, things were quite a bit better in the morning. So anyway, the next Sefirot, Gevura, it symbolizes discipline, restraint. So it's related to this last one. And understand, these things are all related. It's, you know, achieving one thing, moving to the next, but it's all interconnected. This Sefirot is also associated with judgment. Judgment. It's considered a masculine quality. The pillar of severity. When I think of the word severe, I also think of the word punishment, judgment, things that go together in this world. The next crosses over to the pillar of mercy, the feminine side. This is Chesed. It represents love, sharing, empathy. And again, those are qualities of men and women, but overwhelmingly, we associate those things with women. We're going to skip Da'at for now. Again, it's the forbidden Sefirot that you're not supposed to speak of. I'll just say very quickly, it symbolizes the knowledge of all of the Sefirot coming together. And that forbidden knowledge, again, is sex. That's why, let me take this real quick, just in case it's a student who wants to share something. Hello, are you in the class right now?
I am not.
Okay, I gotta call you back then because we're doing class right now.
You will actually call me back?
I'll call you back. I will. All right, you take care, friend. I'll call you back. The Gematria hotline's always going. You should see how many. Anyway, with regards to that forbidden knowledge, think about the story of Adam and Eve and the tree of life and knowledge and eating from the tree. And do you remember how God punishes Adam and Eve from eating from the tree that they're not supposed to? He punishes them with a child and the pains of labor. So clear indication that the tree that they're eating from, this is a metaphor for sex. They weren't supposed to have sex. Remember, after they eat, they realize for the first time their bodies and that they're naked and how they're different. very clear that the story is speaking to sex. And this is that hidden Sefirot. And in the Qliphoth, it is the element that is used largely to hurt others. So I'm still doing my research there. The Qliphoth. I think that's how you pronounce it. The Qliphoth. Qliphoth. Funny word. So normally you would just skip right over that. Chess said climbing up will go to Bina, which is the third Sefirot on the Tree of Life. It represents the logical, the analytical, the ability to organize, which is such an important quality. And that is something I definitely haven't mastered in life. I'm organized in some ways, but in other ways, I'm horrible. And organization, it's so crucial. It's so important. In Hebrew, in this Sefirot, it said that each letter of the Hebrew alphabet symbolizes a quality of God's Spirit. And remember, there's 22 paths in the Tree of Life, just like there are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. The master builder number. It is also from this Sefirot where one is able to extract truth. The next is Chakma. And remember, this is the Sefirot that's on the pillar of mercy, which is the feminine side, but this Sefirot is considered masculine. And the last Sefirot we just looked at is on the masculine pillar, but it is considered feminine, Bina. So here, Chakma, feminine side, considered masculine. It represents wisdom, the creative, the spiritual. And I realize I messed up in my notes there reading. This is the Sefirot that gives one the ability to extract truth. This last Sefirot is the one that gives a person the ability to achieve wisdom. So first you get the wisdom, then with the wisdom you're able to extract truth, understand greater truth in this world. And from there, it is said that man is not capable, mankind, human beings are not capable of achieving the crown. Remember, crown has the gematria of 26 like God. And this is the Sefirot that is God. So as close as you can come to God is having wisdom, understanding what's true, but then not quite reaching that top level, because that is only where God can be. You can come close, but you can't achieve the crown. That is only for the Creator. And again, the whole purpose of this and thinking about these concepts, it's just like Hermeticism. It's being aware of these things, thinking about them in light of yourself, working at those things, being aware so that you can be essentially at spiritual peace in this world. And I am still, the Tree of Life is a very complex thing. I mean, if you go on the web, there's just a wealth of information and analysis and different takes on these Sefirot and concepts. So it's one of those things that, again, it's knowledge that's put out there, but it's meant for you to take it and use it to reflect on your own self and your place in this world. I also learned that these 22 paths are also represented in tarot cards as the 22 major arcana. So that's something else I want to research and learn more about. Tarot cards are still something that I lack most knowledge on. I shared a few things that that made sense and resonated in my book that I knew about tarot cards, but overwhelmingly, it's something I don't have a lot of knowledge on. So that's something I plan to study in the future and expand on as well. But again, just to make sure that we understand the tree of life, it is a physical model to understand concepts in Kabbalah. It is about spiritual enlightenment. Same as Hermeticism, you know, different pieces of one larger puzzle. And the terminology to know from the tree of life is the circles, which are 10. You're supposed to, when you talk about the tree of life, you're supposed to talk about the 10 Sefirot, not the 11th. The 11th is forbidden. You know, it's like a blasphemy to acknowledge it. That's the way a lot of Kabbalah teachers will explain it. And again, it's connected to that dark side, the Qliphoth. And it's also related to sexual energy. And it's the 11th Sefirot, which we're going to come back to in a moment in regards to number 11 and what happened to him in week 11, and how the dark side of the tree of life is supposed to be about, you know, achieving unpleasant things in this world, hurting other people. So, again, we understand Sefirot. The singular of Sefirot is Sephirah. So if you were just speaking about one circle, you'd say the Sephirah Bina. Sefirot is the complete set, which is 10. And consider 10 from the Old Testament, which the tree of life is related to. For those of you who missed the week 1 lesson, we spoke extensively about Genesis 3:2:2, which is about the tree of life, knowing good and evil, the two sides of the tree of life, and why it's the 78th verse of Genesis. And we're going to revisit that a bit here when we look at this Alex Smith thing again. So, terminology, just making sure they stick. Sefirot, the singular Sephirah. We have 3 pillars in the tree of life. On the left, we have the pillar of severity, which is considered masculine, but the top Sephirah is feminine. We have the pillar of balance, easy to remember in the middle, severity on the left, balance in the middle, mercy on the right, the pillar of mercy, which is feminine. And, you know, I just think in our minds that resonates: severity, masculine, mercy, feminine. And again, both pillars have masculine and female aspects, like how in Hermeticism, all things are male and female. Also, we have 22 paths, the master builder number, which are also associated with the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And if you want to make a note somewhere to remember which Sefirot are male and female, you can also look this up online. It's not just here. But these are where the qualities are associated. So, let me pull up my blog here. And I just want to go back and look at this Alex Smith injury in light of the 11th and forbidden. Here it is. I guess this is one of the most popular posts on my blog right now. So what happened this weekend, and I was already planning on teaching about Hermeticism and the Tree of Life this week. When this happened this weekend, I just thought, how strange is this? I mean, realize when you consider the 11th Sefirot, there becomes 33 paths on the Tree of Life. So the Qliphoth has the 33rd path because you consider the 11th Sefirot. The 22 paths plus the 11 Sefirot is 33. So this week, this very strange thing happened in the NFL. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm about to clue you in, so don't worry. But this very strange thing happened in the NFL, maybe the strangest thing to ever happen in the history of the NFL. And this week was week 11, and it happened to a man wearing the number 11. And the man who was on top of the number 11 who broke his leg, his birthday is March 22nd, 322, and this happened on the 322nd day of the year. Again, Genesis 322 is about the tree of life, knowing good and evil. And as a reminder, the man who's credited with American football went to Yale, the home of Skull and Bones that identifies by the number 322. As just a reminder, Yale sums to 43, so does football, so does Masonic. This happened on the day leaving 43 days left in the year. As another reminder, in Gematria, ancient mystery religions sums to 322, so does Abrahamic religions. For both of those phrases, you get that value when you just turn the alphabetic order around. When you make Z1 and you count back to A is 26. If you missed the week 1 lesson, we talked about how this verse, Genesis 3:22, if you take it up to the good and evil part, if you copy and paste all this text from good and evil, in the King James Version and in the New International Version, which both use different wording, if you go to the same part in the verse, it sums to 322, the text, both using the reverse reduction method, the alphabetic order in reverse with the rules of numerology. The King James Version, the New International Version, different words, but both verses sum to 322 when you go up to the knowing good and evil part. So, Genesis 3:22, and the Lord God said, behold, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. So, this is the 78th verse of Genesis. Genesis with the alphabetic order sums to 78. The phrase used the most in the beginning of Genesis when God is creating the world. That's something else that I didn't explain to you about the tree of life. The different Sefirot also represent the different days of creation and aspects of creation, which are all things you can read about. But anyway, in the beginning of Genesis, and God said, just using the alphabetic order, sums to 78, the most commonly repeated phrase again and again. Not an accident that the 78th verse of Genesis is 322, and we're going to get to how 78 was part of this ritual as well. So, number 11, what happened to this man in NFL Week 11 is that he's playing for this team where exactly 33 years ago to the day, exactly 33 years to the day, the quarterback who was once on this team, he broke his leg in the exact same fashion in the exact same places. And not only that, but both men were tackled on the exact same place in the field. Both men finished their seasons with exactly 301 passing attempts, 301. You lose the 0 in the middle, that's like 31, which is the 11th prime number to bring us back to 11. Both games, 33 years apart, finished with the exact same score at the end. And the man who had this happen to him 33 years ago to the day, he happened to be at this game watching, and he doesn't go to every single game. He was in the stands watching this. And it's also now come out that he has a nephew who has the same name as this man who got injured. His nephew's name is Alex Smith, and he's 33 years old. So that's a lot of coincidences, but then there's even more. Notice the man who's on top of him is number 99. He's number 99. And that is interesting because Joe Theismann, who had this happen to him 33 years ago, is born on 9/9. This is the 99th NFL season. The 99th NFL season. When you write out the word 11, it sums to 99. The man who got injured was number 11 in week 11 playing for the Redskins, 99. Now remember, Kabbalah, it has the physical model, the tree of life. Also from the Book of Formation, an important text to Kabbalah, it says that God created the world by merging the letter with the number with the word. So all of this knowledge is about understanding how the world operates. And, on the positive side of the tree of life, it's about understanding it to improve your place in the world. The other side, again, it's about understanding the darker aspects of humanity. It can also be used for witchcraft, hurting others. And let me come back up here. Notice that the word Qliphoth has gematria of 111. Genesis is also 111, which speaks about the tree of life and the good and evil half. Alex Smith, the man who was injured, is 111. The sorcery aspect of Qliphoth comes from, using the energy from that 11th Sefirot, Da'at. And, I know a thing or two about Alex Smith. My dad was a big 49ers fan. When Alex Smith began his career, and he's not the only quarterback that this is true of. I mean, this is actually a pretty common story with quarterbacks who are drafted high in the NFL draft who don't achieve well. Alex Smith began his career as a bust, as they say in the NFL, and then he straightened it out and he became pretty successful. And he was having a successful year right now until this happened. But when his career began, there were a lot of headlines and stories about how he was spending all of his time, going after girls, pictures of him in the hot tub with 5 other women, dating different women, throughout the week. This was a big tabloid story with the 49ers who were doing terrible with him. So, that concept of sex and being abusive with sex, it was there with Alex Smith in the beginning of his career. Anyhow, this happening 33 years to the day reminds that the word magic equals 33, and this knowledge is part of ritual magic. The word camp, as in the name of Walter Camp, who went to Yale and probably Skull and Bones, his name also has the gematria of 33, as does masonry, as does secrecy, as does order, which is invested in this code. And, a man that I hope to speak to one day and that I've been reaching out to for a long time and still waiting to hear back is Mark Passio. And a lot of you are familiar with Mark Passio. He routinely reminds his audience. And if you're not familiar with Mark Passio, he's somebody who's after justice in this world, and he tells his story. He's a very open person, I would say, from my own estimation. I don't know him. I just know him through his work online about the same way you guys know me. But to me, he comes across as an open and genuine person. And he admits that he used to be involved in Satanism and he went away from all that. And, from his past, it's what shaped what he wants to do in the future. And he routinely reminds his audience that the people who control this world, they are high priests, high satanic priests, extreme understanding of this knowledge and knowing how to use it to achieve their means in this world. And, something we've been looking at from afar, trying to understand what's going on in the world, is just how far does this code go? I've said from day one, I wonder if this knowledge of Gematria, Kabbalah, Hermeticism, if it's all being used to wage a magical spell over the people to keep them in a state of darkness. Because I saw from the day September 11th happened on that, people were opposed to truth. It really felt to me at that point in my life that I was a character in a Disney cartoon, if you will, and there was a magical spell over the land, and for some reason, I was immune to it. But other people weren't. They'd all been taken by this spell. They didn't care about the truth. They were down with the dark agenda. They didn't care that their masters were lying to them and leading them astray. And I've just wondered ever since. And long before I learned this knowledge, I used to explain it that way too. I'd say to my mom, my mom was like the only person in my life who also saw through 9/11 when it happened. She was the same person who, as I was growing up, would always explain that the United States of America was, this military killing machine. And she just got it when 9/11 happened. She said, there it is. Just more reason to be a military killing machine. But I'd say to her, Mom, it's like we live in a Disney movie. People can't see it. I don't know why. It's like there's a magical spell over the land. And lo and behold, maybe that's exactly what it is. And honestly, that's the way to see. That's the way it really seems that what it is. And perhaps some of that magic is very straightforward, like what we were saying with sex earlier, and just keeping people fixated on sex and obsessed with sex and not thinking about much else. But perhaps there's also, even greater things going on. And perhaps this right here, as seemingly trivial as it is, one man being injured. I mean, all sorts of dark stuff's happening in the world before this and after. But this right here is just a really good example to look at in terms of going, okay, what is the capability of this code and using numbers to achieve sinister things? So let me continue just looking at the observations that stood out to me in light of what we've already talked about. Joe Theismann's 69 right now, not 69 years of age, not an arbitrary number either. Yin and yang, duality, a lot of symbolism in that number. The name Joe Theismann, the same man who was injured 33 years to the day, his name with the alphabetic order sums to 119. And remember, in our most pure cipher, the dark blue cipher, ancient mystery religions is also 119. Notice the 133 too, because we understand that our government uses this knowledge. Government's 133, president's 133, White House is 133, more. But again, just reminded about a few things as we go here. But Joe Theismann has this significant number. And September 11th, I mean, what did happen that day? There's so many questions. How did those buildings turn to dust as they came falling to the ground? So some people say direct energy weapon. Is it the result of the Manhattan Project? Or is it something like this? Is it a spiritual energy? So anyhow, coming back to the 11th thing, broken leg equals 89, which is the 11th Fibonacci number. There was a lot of 11 on this. Isn't this the same guy who already called in before? Let me just answer real quick, just in case it's not. Hello?
Is that?
Are you in the class?
No, not yet. What time does the class end?
I told you I'd call you when it's over, man. I'm doing it right now for the people who pay, so I'll call you back. I'm sorry. Patience, patience. So anyhow, 89, the 11th Fibonacci number. The word number also has gematria of 89. The gospel, 89 chapters, special number. Jesus has that gematria of 11. 89 is also the 24th prime. It was Alex Smith who was on the receiving end of this ritual. And that name Smith has gematria of 33 as well. I should also point out that magic is 24 and 33. The shape of the football, the mandorla, has that gematria of 33. In the satanic cipher, NFL is 137, the 33rd prime number. So, trying to get to this, just another interesting note about this. This came 170 days before Alex Smith's upcoming 35th birthday. That's a number connected to sacrifice. 35 connects to QB. Ignore that about Theismann. His name actually has two N's, so that's a mistake. This also came 11 weeks before the Super Bowl for another 11. Football is a game of 11 on 11. Could also say 77 days. It happened on the 77th meridian in Washington, D.C. I'm going to skip over some of these other notes. They are interesting. Well, I guess I'll bring it. I'll point it out. The quarterback who replaced Alex Smith was Colt McCoy, and it came 74 days from his birthday. 74 in numerology is 7 plus 4 is 11. The score of the games 33 years apart was 23-21 in both games. Broken leg is 44 combined points. This happened to the Washington Redskins in 85, Washington Redskins 85, like National Football League. But here's the part that just, when I saw this, it just really made me go, wow. It was already wow, but then I saw this and I just couldn't believe it. The man who broke Joe Theismann's leg 33 years ago was Lawrence Taylor. And from this incident happening to Lawrence Taylor's upcoming birthday is 78 days, which means also that when it happened years ago, 33 years ago, it was also 78 days from Lawrence Taylor's birthday. Now remember, Genesis 3:22 is the 78th verse of Genesis, the 78th verse. And notice it's also 11 weeks in one day, like how Qliphoth is 111, like how Alex Smith is 111. The man who was on top of Alex Smith in this case is J.J. Watt, who had the March 22nd birthday, and his name is 78. You know, his birthday goes with his name. As we've been talking about in the world of sports, it seems that they're really birthing these people, naming them accordingly for their planned future rituals in the NFL. And we show again and again how the magical moments in their career, which often aren't broken legs, just how perfectly synced up they are. You know, winning score, winning touchdown. Last year in the NFL, for example, we had the Super Bowl pegged early in the season. We said if the Eagles won, it would be number 86 of the Eagles to score the winning touchdown before the game was played, because it was 86 years since the national anthem was adopted, which was the big focus of last year. Zach Ertz, number 86. The Super Bowl was 86 days after his birthday. And I think there's another note there that I'm forgetting right now, but that did end up happening. So anyway, there's just year after year, all these examples showing how these guys have the perfect names, the perfect birthdays for the rituals they participate in. I can understand how you script a touchdown. What I can't understand is how you perfectly script a broken leg. And I encourage everybody to go and watch this highlight. I'd show it to you, but I just don't want the video to get like a copyright or taken down, because then people won't be able to watch the lesson. Any of you can do the web search for this tackle on YouTube. Just type in Alex Smith broken leg. 100 videos are going to come up. You can see that his leg is broken. And the thing is, it's not like they targeted his leg. They didn't go low and smash his leg. They just, it was like a normal tackle. But the force of him being ripped to the ground caused his leg to snap, and you can see how it goes like a noodle and bends awkwardly. So it's very clear that he broke his leg. And the thing is, this man's taken a million horrible hits in his career, and this is the worst injury of his career. I mean, he is getting older. He's 34, but that's still not too old. It just seems, you know, there's something beyond the physical world that happened here to make this happen. All of the perfect parallels for, you know, Joe Theismann and this man. Same day of the year, same score of the game, tackle on the same hash mark, same amount of passing attempts on the season. Then lo and behold, Joe Theismann has a nephew with the same name who's 33 years old. It almost makes me wonder if, you know, that Alex Smith was supposed to be this Alex Smith, and maybe this Alex Smith ended up being the better quarterback, so he made it to the NFL. Because anyway, but the thing is, the dark energy from the Qliphoth has to do with 11. And again, this was NFL Week 11. Football is a game of 11 on 11. Alex Smith wears the 11. His name's 111. It just makes you go, how can it be? How can it be? So that covers the extent of what I wanted to talk about this evening. Tonight's subject matter. And I didn't anticipate this being part of the lesson, but this happened, and I thought, well, we definitely gotta think about this in light of talking about this knowledge. And again, it speaks to duality and opposites. You know, we want to use this code, or, you know, I want to use this knowledge to improve my place in the world and hopefully improve the world in general. Other people want to use this knowledge to hurt others, and we live in a world of people who are needlessly suffering. I'm hoping this caller's from the lesson. Let me check it out here. Hi, are you in the lesson?
Yes, I am. How are you, Brother Zach?
Very cool. This sounds like my friend from New York.
You got it, brother. I wanted to help you out. Just want to read something real quick. So they read in the book of the Lord distinctly, and it gave them the sense, the cause to understand the reading. Let me tell you what happened, what I believe what happened with Alex Smith. Very simply. I was talking to my buddy out there in Tucson, and I kind of pieced it together for him, and I'd like to piece it together for you and your great audience. I remember Mike Rivera when, what's that guy's name was murdered, Foster, in the White House. Vince Foster. He was murdered at Mercy Park. Mike Rivera at the time, and for those of the people who don't know Mike Rivera, he's a webmaster of what really happened. He was working for Hollywood and NASA. And he saw those photos. And he knew those were photoshopped. And he exposed it. And that was the beginning of his career in webmaster and program whatreallyhappened.com. So you see, if you don't understand how they can Photoshop something, you see what we watch on television, I repeat, it's television. It's a lie. So let me explain. They could tell the guy to drop at the 40-yard line, just fall down at the 40-yard line. Somebody's going to fall on him. And they could Photoshop. They could put imagery. And as you always talk about the technology, they could make it appear like it was mangled and it was gruesome. But I did look at the YouTube channel, or I call it something else, the Chosen channel, and I said, oh, that's pretty ugly. But then I was talking to my brother in Tucson. I'm like, look, I saw the guy's reaction afterwards. I was like, he covered himself, his head over his, with his jersey. I said, if I was mangled like that, I'd be gasping for air and writhing in pain. Now, maybe I wouldn't be moving my leg, but I'd be moving my upper torso, and I'd be screaming and writhing in pain. I wouldn't be covering my head with my jersey. So it doesn't add up, my friends. And that's my 2 cents for the Alex Jones, it was like an Alex Jones production, the Alex Smith injury. What is your take on that, my brother?
Well, I'd say it's entirely possible. I would say it is possible. We absolutely do have the technology, and when most of us saw it, we saw the replay. I'd like to think that is what happened, and that these people don't have the ability to,
Exactly, Zach, and exactly, because when you start talking, I listened to your earlier episode from earlier today, and you were like, it kind of puzzled you a little bit, and you started going, well, is there this black magic that they got? Yeah, they have this occult knowledge and this magic, but when we start to talk like that, especially the leader, and you're a very wise man, it kind of makes you look silly or stupid. And you're not a silly or stupid man by any means. But I could see where it could be befuddled even an important man and a very perceptive man as yourself. But I tell you, when I read this verse from Nehemiah 8:8, it gave them the sense to understand the reading. See, I was given the sense to understand what was happening. Because this is a dog and pony show. It's Talmud vision. It's television. It's programming for the masses of sheeple. And we're not sheeple. We're people. And we have the power. And we have not to give these people the power. Because yes, they have dark magic. Okay, and yes, we do wrestle against, not just against flesh and blood, but spiritual principalities and powers, against rulers of darkness in the world, spiritual wickedness in high places. That's what they are. They are like high priests. They're occultists. Okay? But once we are able to have the sense, the discernment to see through the lack of word, better word, let's use the word crap. We can have the fruit of the Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, and faith, and it will give us discernment to look back and sit back and understand. So I thank you for your time. I won't take any more of your time. I think you were pretty much near the end of this, but I just wanted to give my 2 cents, and I'll speak to you tomorrow, my brother. I got some good stuff for you tomorrow.
All right, I look forward to it. I appreciate you weighing in.
Bless you, brother. Keep safe.
All right, you have a good night. So that's entirely possible that it is just video editing to make his leg flop as it comes to the ground, and maybe he's not really injured at all, and it is all just a perfect script and ritual. what it made me think about is going back to the vehicle that wrecked through my house. And again, I'll just show you this in case you've never heard me talk about this before. I was 33 years old when it happened, the magic number myself. And I need the, my birthday is July 21st. It happened in 2016. And it happened on Christmas Eve. You know, I had the guy with the white and black checkerboard mask making videos about me every day then. And then he put out the threat for Christmas Eve. I better watch my back. And what were the numbers for Christmas Eve? And what ended up happening that day is a vehicle ended up wrecking through my house. And at first, the police had no idea who did it. And then later, a witness stepped forward and they'd identified the vehicle. And the next day I found out that the person who'd wrecked through my house was my own neighbor. And, you know, it was just, what I did when I found out that was I just let them know that I forgave them and, you know, not to let it ruin their Christmas, or I didn't have any ill will against them. And it still seems so strange to me because I was just thinking, how does my neighbor wreck through my house who lives across the street on Christmas Eve? But the thing was, it came 156 days after my 33rd birthday. And those are the numbers that have the strong relationship with each other. 33 is 156. And, you know, several different things could have happened. You know, somebody could have got to my neighbor. You know, I don't know if they got money. I'll tell you what happened after this happened. Both of them. It was a married couple with a young daughter. She was probably about 11 or 12 years old. This is the couple that it was the wife who crashed through my house on Christmas Eve. After this happened, both of them got way nicer vehicles. Both of them got a lot nicer cars. And I was just thinking, wait a minute, how do you like crash through somebody's house, have an insurance problem, and then go out and upgrade both of your vehicles? The guy got a real nice Mercedes, and she got an even bigger SUV. So, I mean, I don't know if they were paid to do that or what happened, but a part of me at the time was just like, is this magic? I mean, how does she crash through my house the way she did? And so anyway, I have questions in this world, and what he just called in and said is a very logical explanation that's entirely possible. And if that is what happened, you know, it wouldn't surprise me. But still, you know, I like to keep an open mind to all possibilities. So maybe I do sound silly, but I'll still say that I don't know definitively what happened to Alex Smith. And what I saw Alex Smith do after his leg was hurt is I saw him like suck in and do a big spit up in the air. And I never busted my leg like that, but when I get injured, I often spit too. So I don't know. It's just like my reaction when I'm hurt, I'll spit. But anyhow, let me come out to the chat. Jeremy has something for me to read out loud. I'm at the chat, so I can read it out loud. Where do I need to go, Jeremy? While Jeremy's doing that, just want to make sure everybody here has a wrench. In case anybody else wants to share something. Nope, needs a wrench. Looks like everybody has a wrench. All right, the writings of Abraham. Jeremy's always got something great for us. Zoom it in so everybody can, oh, maybe that's too far. Let me just come back, make sure Jeremy didn't have a note after he posted that before I start reading. Read the first chapter of the writings of Abraham. Talks about the order of the secret combination. Okay. So I'll read this little part before chapter 1 too. The Writings of Abraham, from the papyri found in Egypt, 1831, and translated by John Bryan. This text begins with a prologue originally numbered as chapter 1. Behold, my son, I have caused to come into thine hands a fragment of the writings of Abraham, in which he hath left a record of his sojourn among men, and of the blessings of the Lord unto him. This I have brought to thee, that thou might restore that which is lost, that the fullness of the record in its original purity might be found again among the sons of God. Behold, these things are sacred. Wherefore, send them not forth unto the children of men, but let them be for the edification of the elect, that your hearts may be turned unto the feathers, and ye may draw close to them, and they to you. Thus will the veil be withdrawn, and ye will commune with the general assembly and the church of the firstborn, and shall even be ushered back unto my presence. Go to now and do this work which I have placed in thine hands. Amen. Don't forget, amen has that 33 quality, using the alphabetic order. Chapter 1. I, Abraham, was born the son of Terah, who was prime minister to Nimrod, who reigned in Ur of the Chaldeans. Now this Nimrod was a wicked man and an idolater, and my father was led to follow after his abominations. Moreover, Nimrod was a man of mighty power, for he was Master Mahan, and had in his hands the secrets of the ancients, as they had come down from Cain, wherein he knew the words of power and the signs for using them. And he had the holy garments which had been given unto Adam in the garden, in which was great power. All of this power did Nimrod use to gain after the manner of the secret combination. With his power he had set out to build a tower which would reach to heaven, even the city of my father Enoch, which had been taken up, that he, Nimrod, might depose God from his throne, for God had taken up his abode among the people of Enoch. But God frustrated the plans of Nimrod by confounding the language of him and his people, that they could no longer remember the sacred words, and they scattered forth over the face of the earth. At that time, Nimrod came and established the city of Ur, which is the city of light. For he yet retained his determination to build a city to rival the city of God, that the light and power might center in him. And through the ministration of Satan, he did receive again some of the words of power, and did reorganize the secret combination among his people. But he had not power, as at the first, for the fullness of the pure language was not restored to him, according to the decree of the Most High God. Now in all the wickedness of Nimrod, my father stood by his side, for he was deceived by the subtle cunning and power which Nimrod possessed. So Jeremy wanted us to read chapter 1. Let me come back to Jeremy. I'm sure Jeremy has deeper thoughts on this than I do. Yeah, that's the sacred garments, the aprons. That's a good point. Yeah, that makes sense, Jeremy. That makes sense. One wonders if they might have already restored it. I want to, while you guys are talking about this, in light of Satan and language and everything we talk about, again, I want to point out this thing that I just recently observed about the word Satan in the New International Version of the Bible. There's exactly 47 uses of the word Satan in the NIV. Remember, NIV with the alphabetic order sums to 45, like Holy Bible. A lot of interesting things coded into the NIV. There's 62 mentions of the garden. Garden of Eden equals 62, like Torah, like Elohim. But, you know, I don't think that's any accident. Satan sums to 47. The word beast is 47. We know how often this number is used in these rituals. It's a number of construction, which fits into what Jeremy just had us read. You know, Nimrod was the builder. The secrets from Satan. Notice there's 33 mentions of Satan in the New Testament and 14 in the Old Testament as well. 33. So find that quite interesting. Genesis 9:1. Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. Oh, Abraham 9:1. Where did that document go? And the child grew and waxed strong in wisdom and mighty in the power of the priesthood, for he was initiated into the order of the ancients in his childhood and learned the rites and ordinances and the powers of the priesthood, which the signs and tokens and key words wherewith he could call upon the powers of heaven to combat the forces of the adversary. And when he was come of age, he took 12 wives and begat many sons and daughters who grew up in his righteousness and served the Lord all their days. And some died and others were caught up unto the city of Enoch. But in the next generation they corrupted themselves, for the daughters of Noah's son did go forth and lay with the sons of men, which thing was an abomination in the eyes of God. Wherefore the Lord said unto Noah, behold, the daughters of thy sons have sold themselves, but behold, mine anger is kindled against the sons of men, for they will not hearken to my voice. Wherefore all those who go in unto them will be destroyed with them. I have to read this document over more. I've never seen this document before, so this is new for me. Thanks, Jeremy. All right. Well, does anybody else have any other things that they'd like to point out, or any questions about what we went over tonight? Glad at least two of you enjoyed the class. If nobody has any questions, we can wrap it up. You're welcome. Very welcome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all you guys supporting and listening. Do you need a teacher? Well, a lot of people who study Kabbalah do have a teacher, but everybody learns in their own way. Some people can, it's just like anything in this world. Some people are amazing musicians and they never had a teacher. Some people learn from an amazing teacher. So what I say is we live in the age of information. It's easy to get your hands on information. There's all sorts of teachers online. The resources are out there. The books are out there. The websites are out there. So if you're somebody who's capable of self-studying, I think you can learn a lot about Kabbalah and the Tree of Life just from what's out there. Francis says, with today's lesson acknowledgement polarities, here's a sobering thought. Evil is as necessary as good. I guess it's a dirty job, but someone has to do it. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Francis. And again, in this world, you need the other half of every equation to appreciate the other side. I mean, if there was no evil, how would you know what was righteous? You know, if there was no bad, how would you know what is good? But at the same time, sometimes I think that the only way to overcome this evil might be to give them some of their own medicine. And maybe I'm wrong about that. And I'd like to think that there's other ways, but sometimes I do think that I don't know if there is any other way. Sometimes it thinks that these people just need to be ridded from the earth. And I don't know who else is going to do it. But I know that other people hearing that would say, well, if you did that, it would just bring more evil into the world. And perhaps those people are correct. So it's something worth thinking about. And just honestly, I don't have the answer definitively. So I can see both sides of the equation. Glad you guys really liked the class tonight. We'll go deeper on these subjects in the future, but each week I kind of just want to keep building our foundation, and then in time we can come back and revisit things and realize I'm a student as much as the teacher too. There's still a whole lot more that I need to know about all of these subjects, and they're deep subjects. I'm going to talk to Crystal this week, and hopefully here in the near future we can have an announcement about the website and start, contributing, working together, building the knowledge, getting more people interested in this. So let me just make sure there's I will go back and read chapter 3 carefully. It's on the bookshelf right behind me, so that's not too hard to do. Brooklyn 99. Okay, hold on. I gotta screen capture that so I remember to go look at it. Huh. That's too weird. I hope the caller who called in tonight and said that it was just video editing, I hope he's right. I hope that's all it is. It's possible. I'd like to think that they don't have the power to do that. But I'll never claim to know anything definitively. So... Oh, I see somebody else who needs a wrench. Make sure everybody's got a wrench. Remember, when you have a wrench, it allows you to post links in the chat. Crystal saw that too. Thanks, Crystal. You know, I honestly, the whole Adam Green thing, I honestly feel bad about. I wish it didn't go the way it did. And maybe I didn't do the best job in hindsight. But I don't know. It didn't seem like he really wanted to be a friend to me or the work, especially after favoriting all the comments that were attacking me. I was just like, and the other thing that people don't know is before him and I went on the air, we had a conversation for like an hour on the phone, and I was being nice to him and supportive because he was talking about how upset he was about getting doxxed and the threats, and so that's why I was just I was like, really, man, you're favoriting all the comments, trolling me. I just gave you a free copy of my book. I gave you all the supportive comments. I complimented you, and so I don't know, but I wish that we would have. Became collaborators or allies because he has the video editing skills that I need. So appreciate the compliments, though. Yeah, there's a part of me that loves giving them the thought of giving them a taste of their own medicine too, because again, all of us within, we got all the qualities. We got the good and evil inside of us, and we all know how it is. But sometimes I really feel like these people deserve what's coming. So Happy birthday, Miss Mildred. I didn't know it was your birthday. Hope you had a great day. Appreciate the compliments. Thank you. Yeah, Crystal's right. Yeah, she's right. I'll come on your radio show, Dan. I've never turned down any radio show invite. So you got my number. Call me. Call me and we'll hook up on the radio show. 49th birthday, huh? That's my magic number. Zach Hubbard's 49, and I got the 49 birth numerology. The other weird thing about my birthday is if you type in Zach Hubbard in the 2 original ciphers that I used to teach, speaking of the organic side of this code, get rid of these reverse ones. If you type in Zach Hubbard, it's 94 and 49, and my life lesson number for my date of birth breaks down to 49. But from my dad's birthday to my birthday is 94 days later, and from my birthday to my mother's birthday is 49 days later. So life is just so interesting. 49. That was my favorite number growing up. When I played sports, I often wore the number 49. The other number I would wear is 37, and lo and behold, Zachary equals 37 in the most pure cipher. So. All right, you guys. Well, we can wrap it up here. We'll be back next Tuesday. Well, of course, I'll be back before then, but Gematria School next Tuesday. And again, leave your ideas for what you want to talk about in future weeks. If you want any homework, just read Chapter 7 and Chapter 8, and feel free to read beyond there. Give you a few more pointers that we didn't talk about tonight. Oh, your radio show is, so I'm thinking, okay, so I can do that because that's 3 p.m. Pacific, so I can do that before Gematria School. Normally I'm planning for the Gematria School lesson, but I'll work it out. We can do it whatever Tuesday you want to. Oh, Dan, did you do a radio show with Derek like about a year ago? That's a trip, Jeremy, what you just wrote about the whole maroon thing. That is crazy. All right, Crystal, I will be in contact with you tomorrow. So how about this, Crystal? Will you call me when you're free? I get up at about I'm usually up no later than 7 a.m. West Coast time. I think you're in a different time zone than me. But just call me tomorrow. I'll be looking for your phone call all day. And that way, because I'll be around and you can catch me on your schedule. Oh, read the Kabbalion. Read the Kabbalion. It's short. And read the Emerald Tablet too, which is just like a page. It's the thoughts of Hermes. You want to be in a car with me and Tim, huh? That could be fun. Yeah, read the Kabbalion. Yeah, they spelled it right here. Auspicious has it right. That's it. So that's a good text to read. The Book of Formation for Kabbalah is a good one. The Zohar is a longer book. It would take you a while to read that one. But here, I'll write down the names of some books. The Kabbalion, the Zohar, the Book of Formation, and just a short reading is the Emerald, I believe that's what's called, the Emerald Tablet. It's supposed to be thoughts of Thoth, Hermes. Okay, yeah, Dan, I heard your radio show. I would love to come on there. So we can do it whatever Tuesday you want to. Just give me a call. All right, everybody, have a good night. Be back tomorrow. Gematria School next Tuesday. Oh, well, how you do a screenshot depends on if you have a Mac or a PC. I'm on a Mac. I could tell you on a Mac, but I have a feeling you're probably on a PC like most people. If you're on Mac, I can tell you. Or Miss Mildred, if you just oh, we got oh, you're on Mac? All right, so you the command key, the one that says command, you hold command, you hold shift, and if you hit 3, it'll just take a picture of the whole screen. Or if you do command shift and 4, it'll bring up this thing, and then you just drag it to what you want a picture of, and you highlight it, and then you let go, and it takes a picture. And it should show up right on your desktop. If you just do command shift 3, it takes a picture of the entire screen. So command shift 3. Now I got a picture. Like here, I'll go to my desktop real quick. It should show up right here. If you're on your iPhone, check your photos folder. It should just go there. But here's the control shift 3. It just takes the whole screen, and then the control shift 4 just took the picture of the section I highlighted. And actually, now that I think about this, if you're on your iPhone, it's not, you don't do it the same way. Miss Mildred, are you on a computer or a phone? If you're on your phone, you have to hit the like right power button and the right power button and the bottom circle button at the same time. Or I think the newer iPhones, they don't have the bottom circle button, so you have to hit the right side button and the volume up button at the same time. And if you don't get it right, it'll like make your screen dark. But if you hit it just right, you'll see how your screen flashes and makes noise, and then the picture will show up in your photos. So we'll sign off. I'm just making sure. Oh, whoops, the chat is going on. All right, everybody, take care. I just want to make sure. All right, looks like Miss Mildred, you figured it out, Miss Mildred. I just wanted to make sure you were able to take the screen capture before we sign off here. Gary Light, yeah, he does have good work on Hermeticism. I've seen his channel before. Great recommendation, Francis. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you have a great day. Yeah, 509-731-0567. That's the number. All right, Miss Mildred, did you get it there? Did it work? Good night, Crystal. Thanks for sharing the number. Oh, very cool. You got a wreath, Miss Mildred. Glad you like it. My mom works hard on those. I'll let her know you picked one up for her. And glad that you got the screen capture too. All right, you guys. Be back tomorrow. Have a great rest of your evening, your day. Again, appreciate all of you supporting. Means a lot. Making dreams come true over here. All right. Take care.